MiceChat has published more awesome new aerial photos over ToonTown. The Tarzans Treehouse stump is darn near gone for good. More walls down in New Orleans Square with some interesting results. And there's new business in Avengers Campus. All this and more coming up next on Fresh Baked. Hi guys, David here with Fresh Baked, and just look at these views. MiceChat has saved us all once again with these aerial photos of construction progress in ToonTown. ToonTown is, as you know, in the middle of an extensive remodel that will wind up looking like this. But right now, it looks like this with our first shot of the fountain outside Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin. Check that. There's no fountain. It's gone. Check that again. It was already gone. This is not new. Here's how the area looked back in April when we got the last aerial footage from MiceChat. So all the surface elements have been removed, the concrete, etc. It's just dirt, flat dirt. Much like downtown Disney, it's going to look like dirt for a little while, I'd guess. First, you got to take everything out, smooth it out, get it ready. It does look, though, like they're getting ready to plant some new trees. And this is outstanding news, right? I mean, we do love trees, and ToonTown was in desperate need of them. You can see there's one here near where the Roger Rabbit fountain was, and there's another sitting there next to the truck in the middle of the entrance path. Where it'll wind up is anybody's guess. If you're wondering how this might wind up looking, here's the concept art. There is the area we're looking at now, but from the opposite side, the opposite direction. From here, I can see 3 trees in the fountain area. So we got 2 more to go, but they look good in the concept art. Wonderful looking concept art. Love those trees there. Can't wait to see more. Okay, next in the frame, that purple thing in the lower right corner is the entrance to Runaway Railway. I'm assuming the purple color is due to, like a siding or drywall or something, some interior layer that of the unfinished product. Because we're early on in the stage of construction here, so it's not going to be purple, I guess is what I'm saying. It's interesting though. I'm just now realizing that that entrance area, once you cross the threshold of the marquee, is open air. It's not covered. Looking at the concept art, there's a short distance that needs to be covered between the entrance here and the green hills in the back. And the green hills, by the way, they mark the boundary of ToonTown. Anything behind those green hills is the proper show building, the thing that they've been building backstage. So where that green vine is, extending from that show building out into the proper ToonTown area, is about where we're looking from this overhead shot. So is this area here open? Will there be a large green vine connecting the 2 spaces? I don't know, man. That's cool though. If it is, I would like to see them build a large green vine. I'm hoping that's not just a, artist choice when it comes to concept art, but it's going to be something to watch for. And I love having things to watch for. I love mysteries. I love wondering watching the progress go forward. And this is something that I'm going to be looking out for. Hopefully we get more shots from MiceChat in the future, because I don't have a helicopter. For now, let's go to the next space, or the next shot from MiceChat, and this is an area that used to be Toon Park. Since the last update, they've removed a few more trees, quite a few actually. But now, again, whereas I was excited about the addition of trees before, I'm not concerned about the removal of those trees. They're going to be replaced. This whole area is going to be full of trees by the time they're done, so I'm not worried about that. And then much like the fountain area, all the surface rubble has been removed, and they've prepped the area for the next phase of construction. Here we can see Goofy's house under scaffolding. And again, it was under scaffolding in our previous update, so there's no real change to report there, no update. I still can't tell what they're doing underneath the scaffolding, but my assumption is just paint. I mean, maybe not new paint. Maybe they are putting a new color scheme on the house. For whatever it's worth, it didn't exactly scream Goofy, in my opinion, in terms of the colors that we associate with Goofy. So maybe that's a direction that they're going. You can't really tell from the concept art what they're going to do with Goofy's house. It's kind of obscured and suggested as opposed to anything specific. What is interesting, though, is right next door to Goofy's house is Donald's boat, and it is scaffolding free. So are they not doing anything with his boat? Is Donald's boat going to open up again when they reopen as is? I don't know. Seems like they should at least be getting started on that if they were going to do something there. You would think they would at least repaint it, right? So I don't know. Probably too early to judge. Maybe that's coming up later. But yeah, so far, no changes to Donald's boat. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure this here is a new large tree placed in between Goofy's house and Donald's boat. I don't remember seeing this in previous versions, overhead shots. I don't think this was here before, but I'm not positive. Anyway, it's a tree. In the previous shots from over ToonTown were from a different perspective, so it's kind of hard to tell. But I do think this is new. Last thing I want to look at is Chippendale's treehouse. In our last update, we could see that they had completely removed the treehouse. It was gone. And now the new shots that we got today, the new shots, they don't really show the treehouse very well at all. All we can see really is those gray rocks that are still in place. So we're not able to see if there's been any change in this area or if it's at all indicative of whether or not they might be trying to connect ToonTown to Galaxy's Edge. When we saw that they were removing Chippendale's treehouse, that was one of the first questions that people asked. Does this mean they're going to try to connect? Because that's where you would connect it, is in that space. But until I see an actual tunnel, I'm going to continue to assume that they are not going to build anything here to connect the two lands. In my opinion, it just doesn't seem very feasible, and I don't see it happening. Okay, let's check in on Tarzan and his treehouse next. Looks like the trunk is pretty much completely gone. All that remains inside the walled-off area is the steel core, the base around which the entire tree trunk was built. They have to take a blowtorch to the thing and take it out in pieces, so I'm told. So it may be a minute before we see those walls come down. They may take a minute to get that, the actual core removed. Let's take this to the opposite side, which looks about the same as from the other side, but you can see here that there's a small corner where we might be able to get the camera over the wall to see what's behind there. But as it turns out, there's a very well-placed tree there that blocked our view, so no luck there. We did, though, this is cool, we did get a chance to peek through. There's a little bit of a window in the scrim around the treehouse. So I took Grandpa and tried to squeeze my way through that little slot. And, there's not much to see here, not much to go on, but we can at least confirm that it's still a tree. So that's a thing. Okay, right next door is Pirates of the Caribbean. Poke the camera over the entrance from the bridge. We got a pile of dirt. I love dirt. But the dirt was gone the next day. And it did reveal that they are definitely doing some more concrete work here as well, naturally. By the way, I should add, the reason why I'm even looking here is because I'm constantly on the lookout for signs of lightning lane. I'm trying to see if they're going to put that thing in there just in case. So far, though, no signs. Everything looks to be business as usual on the entrance to Pirates. But do remember, the last time they closed Pirates for the red updates back in 2018, they snuck in these FastPass scanners a couple of days before the ride was set to reopen. By the way, that's also when they installed the signage over the entrance, the clock and the wait time. But yeah, Pirates was supposed to get FastPass in 2018. They were already, this is when MaxPass was pretty new, and they were trying to create more energy and demand for MaxPass, which, by the way, now in comparison, they didn't need to. MaxPass was great, but they were talking about they were going to put it in for Pirates. It wound up never happening. Scanners were removed, and it was business as usual at Pirates of the Caribbean, hoping that this is the case again here in 2022. Actually, Ronnie and I talked about this. If you missed our podcast today or yesterday, Ronnie and I were talking about how they're going to configure the Pirates of the Caribbean queue. It's an interesting conversation, worth checking out. If you skip the podcast, at least check out the first 30 minutes of that show so if you're interested in how that's going to work. It's really interesting what we think could be happening with the Pirates queue, because it's not a slam dunk that they're going to do what they did before. It's not a slam dunk. We've also got these over-the-wall shots from Fresh Baked Street Tamer Lucas Hawkins. These are great. Thank you, Lucas. They're just about done with all the below grade work, it appears. Dirt is back, though we're not quite to ground level yet. We can still see, for example, the drain in the lower right of frame, so they've got to put in the concrete, I'm sure. Curious, though, what the white and green poles are in that area. Is that for future queue stanchions? I'm not positive because they look like they're different heights, which is curious. But they do kind of form the regular perimeter of the queue section in that area. So I'm leaning in that direction. We're a little over a month away from reopening, so I expect we'll see concrete here in the next week or so, then finishing touches in and around the queue in the weeks following. But we're like 5 weeks away. And I do think things will wind up looking pretty much as they did before, just, with smaller trees. Okay, we got more walls down in New Orleans Square. Royal Street is now pretty much open. That was completely closed off last time we were here. Royal Street is back open again. Here's a look at the new concrete on the ground. The dark gray concrete is the old. The light gray concrete is the new. And I was kind of baffled for a minute with the differences between the two. Not only were they a different color, but they were also of a kind of a very distinctly different texture. The old gray concrete was smooth, whereas the new light gray concrete was really very porous, rough, borderline sticky. Like if you try to slide your foot across it, it would just get stuck right there on the concrete. You could feel it in your feet. And I thought it was weird that they would make this choice to have such two different kinds of concrete in terms of texture, at least. But then I began to realize that they're actually the same. At least I think they are. They probably are. They're the same material. It's concrete mixed with what looks like, rocks or maybe shells mixed in. But the difference in how it feels and the color are due to age. The dark gray concrete has been out. It's been around for a while. Years of foot traffic, etc., have darkened and smoothed the surface. Same is not yet true for the new surface. I guess what I'm saying is that old concrete probably very likely looked just like the new concrete does today. And I'm not sure how long this will take to even out, if it ever will look the same. I'm sure they're going to at least come close. After not too long, they'll at least start to approximate each other. Just kind of wear down that new concrete a little bit. Damn, that really had me scratching my head at first. I couldn't figure that out. Okay, I mentioned new business at Avengers Campus in the intro. It looks like the Pym family is doing a little remodeling in the seating area of their test kitchen. They've closed off the outer tables, and they're doing more work on the flooring everywhere. Everywhere you look, the last few months, they've been working on foot surfaces throughout the park, both parks. But actually here, it may not be simply to refresh the concrete, as very specific sections have been exposed. And they haven't just dug it up. It's almost as if you could lift it out whole, like it's plug and play, these sections. It's what you're seeing on top of what would normally be exposed areas are just plywood sections that have been painted over, but the plywood sections that are cut into the shape of the section that was removed in order to cover whatever it is that they're doing. Which, whatever that is, I don't have any idea what they're doing because you can't really tell. They do a pretty good job of concealing that. I mean, there's only a few things, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to face the guests. Electrical, perhaps. But I'll come back next week, check in on things here again, and see if we can't notice any difference in terms of what was before and what was after. And now, another ride on the monorail for some of our greatest hits. Downtown Disney looks just about the same as we left it last week. And so too does the Finding Nemo Lagoon. By the way, before I even get into this, Nemo Lagoon is still showing us closed on the park calendar into July. I think it was July 6th now. That's how far the calendar sees into the future. Still shows Finding Nemo Lagoon is closed, as does, obviously, Tarzan's Treehouse. I'll say that here as well. I'm not expecting Tarzan's Treehouse to open for a while, but Nemo, what are they doing? That's something that Ronnie and I talked about in the podcast as well. But I mean, if the water's there, what are they doing? What else could they be doing here that's going to take more than a month for them to figure out? Anyway, the lagoon looks about the same, but I do have one interesting little item to share before we call it a show. That rock there covered in a tarp may be the future home of this guy. Yeah, I'm hearing Hank from Finding Dory might be camped out on that rock. Just a rumor. I don't know anything for sure, but it is curious that this rock is covered like this. It's not like they could still be working on it. There wouldn't be water in the lagoon if they were not finished with whatever it is that they're doing in that part of the attraction. So situations like this, it's almost always because they don't want us to see what they've got under there, not until they're ready. So, I mean, maybe it's Hank. That's what I heard, but it could be something. I think at very least, it's new show, quote unquote. Not show, but kind of like the Pelicans or something like that. It's going to be a new element in the lagoon. So that's kind of something we could look forward to. Here's an interesting update from the Pixar Pier Hotel, that's what it is, right? It's the Pixar Pier Hotel. These shots are from Fresh Baked Street teamer Ryan Takasaki, who found some Imagineers scoping out the hotel. I would assume, naturally, that they're looking for places to redress or retheme the hotel's exterior, something that's more Pixar looking. Though, I mean, we do have concept art, but maybe they're just looking on how to make that happen. I do hope, though, that they find some creative ways to retheme this hotel, because my expectations are very low for this. Reskins pretty much never turn out well. That's been my experience. I am not a fan of reskins. But that's it for this week, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us once more. Follow us on Instagram at _freshbaked, on Twitter at freshbakedisney, that's fresh with no E, and on TikTok at freshbakedisney. And if you'd like our show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. We love you very much. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And fresh baked.